Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us on this really special episode. So today I have got the amazing Chris Schuh. Now he is a ServiceNow certified master architect and is also known as the ServiceNow Magician. Now at the time of this recording, he's got over 8 years experience with ServiceNow, and he has consulted for clients across all industries and continents. He is passionate about showcasing how ServiceNow can deliver value to any organization. So Chris, I just want to say a huge welcome to you. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been a big follower of Leaking Humans ever since you came up in my LinkedIn feed, and I was like, what is this all about? So it's, fulfilling a dream to be a guest.
Oh, listen, honestly, the dream is all ours. So, yeah. And look, I think it would just be amazing for anybody who doesn't know you personally or who hasn't seen your magic show, just to kind of explain a little bit about your background journey. Just how did you first get introduced to ServiceNow and how you've got to reach the amazing success that you are at right now?
Oh, well, first, thank you. So my IT journey started in college way back in the late 90s. So yes, this is all legit gray. But my ServiceNow journey started in January of 2017. So I was working in the request management space as a business analyst. And there was a client that was in an in-house built request management tool, and they were moving to ServiceNow. So they had like 400 or 600, a bunch of catalog items, hundreds of them, and the workflows. And I got asked if I could be a part of this transition from the in-house solution to ServiceNow, because I did have that experience previously in the coding side of things. So 8 months later, and I think it was 460, I can't remember the number today, but it was hundreds of items over the course of 8 months. I learned a ton, and then, kind of started my ServiceNow journey. A few weeks into learning about this and seeing the tool, I actually called my mom and said, hey, buckle up, Mom, there's another career change coming. But she's like, are you leaving IT again? But that's a story for another time. Yeah. I could have only accomplished all of this due to people believing in me, giving me that chance and helping me learn along the way. And then I also did work incredibly hard, not doing just what it took to be a part of a successful implementation team, but also, trying to grow as a person, closing gaps in my knowledge and experience, which would help me move to that next desired role.
That's amazing. And wait, you did say, your mom said not another career move. Like, I want to hear this story. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll go through the condensed version.
Okay.
So I in grade 8, I took a basic programming course. Yes, like I said, all real gray. And knew right then, this is what I wanted to do with my life. Took college and had a job right out of college in the IT industry. And started doing development work.
Yeah. What language were you doing development work in back then?
Back then it was Basic, Turbo, Pascal, Visual Basic 6, Java, right. JavaScript, all the there are several languages I had under my belt. C++.
Nice.
As well. So then that company that I started working for was a .com company, and then they eventually became a .gon. This was during the tech bubble of the 2001. And I moved into working at a help desk for Best Buy because I just needed a job, really. And while I was at Best Buy, I started to, really start performing magic on the side. And over the course of 4 or 5 years, I landed a magic consulting gig with a company out of the States that makes magic products. And then also was performing a lot and left IT to go do magic full time. And that was the, hey mom, hey dad, this is what I'm doing. And, you have a stable job. And they were they were accurate on that. But, I got here as part of that career change. And, my mom shifted industries a lot too. So I kind of looked to her and her experience in that way. And my dad was a business owner. So, I leveraged his skill set to make sure that I could kind of try and run it like a good business. And, I did my best, learned my learned as much as I could, made a lot of mistakes, but also had a lot of successes. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. Do you know what? It's really interesting because I think for people that, have a career, then have a total career change, like what tips could you give somebody that perhaps isn't in ServiceNow now, maybe does a different programming language or does something completely different, like what kind of tips could you give those kind of guys?
I would say make sure you know what you're fully getting into, and I like to move from a stable place to a stable place. So it is not like I quit and changed industries and started at the bottom. I stayed in one industry and then learned the magic business, was doing a lot of shows, was having this paying consulting gig as well. So I moved from a stable place to just a new stable place. That was my journey, and that's honestly what I'm comfortable with. Now I have friends who have jumped ship. And I'm like, good for you. I'm not that strong of a swimmer. Yeah. So that's the advice that I would give, is to make sure that you understand what you're getting into, have a plan, and make sure that you actually can execute both, and that your measurements on your plan, you actually adhere to them or refine them as you come up with new things that you've discovered along the journey. Have some room for unexpected events, because life still happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's really interesting because obviously you're a CMA now. So, it's such an amazing, to get. It's an amazing place to be, being a CMA. Was that always your dream? Like, did you always want to be CMA qualified? Like,
when I first heard about the program, yeah, that was the ideal place that I saw myself ending up. But at the time that the program started and when I discovered it, I was a developer and I didn't have anywhere near the requirements. You need those 5 certifications, and then you need 5 global project implemented, like a lot of stuff just to apply. So when I found out about the program and the requirements, my personal development plan shifted. So I started to plead and beg to get on these projects, even just to listen on these global projects, just to learn. And maybe something happens and hey, Chris, can you do this little bit for us because someone's on vacation? And that did happen. And then I got a little more experience on these large projects. I kind of got my feet wet and then began to understand them better and build more skill sets. And then that one led to the next project, and then to the next one. And then suddenly I'm a developer, and then suddenly I'm the architect. And it wasn't, when I say suddenly, this is a 2.5-year journey. And all the while, I'm chipping away at these certifications. So every 6 months, I wanted to get at least one. And sometimes I got 2, but I had to work through to get the minimum certifications, plus the projects and the recommendations. And then it took I spent 3 months on my application. So I went out and collected everything they wanted, added my quotes, and it was worth it for me. I'm very grateful to be a part of the program. I enjoyed the journey on it, and it's a good fit for me. So I'm very happy.
No, that sounds amazing, and I love the fact that you had that goal as your end mind, and then it was like, right, what are the steps I need to do before to kind of achieve that? And I think that takes a very special mindset. Like, how did you get into that mindset, as not to look at it and go, oh God, this is unachievable for me. Like, I'm never going to do it. Like, how did you make yourself so resilient in your head to kind of go, yeah, you know what, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to get it?
Well, okay, it may. This kind of reminds me of the duck being calm on top of the water and then paddling like hell underneath. It may appear resilient, but there was tons of challenges, tons of times I thought of giving up, and just an unbelievable amount of struggles that I'm sure a lot of people are also going through. I just got back from visiting my mom for her birthday, and we kind of went through the baby album with my partner, because she'd never really seen it. And, there was a lot of the report cards were like, he was always determined. And so, like, even in grade 1, Chris is determined to do stuff. So I kind of had that relentless pursuit mindset, even as a kid, and a do whatever it takes mentality. But that didn't mean that I'm just hacking away until it's working. I want to work together with people, try as best as we can and as best as I can to remove egos, and then strive to let that best idea win or be the one that we follow. And that means that we relentlessly work towards that goal and attempt to achieve it following that best path. And that can be a few different things. That means maybe we recommend a specific ServiceNow product. Maybe we're recommending building a custom scoped app. Other times, it can actually mean let's use organizational change management and let's help bridge the gap between the users and the tool so that the customer can get the most out of the ServiceNow platform and deliver those desired outcomes. Because the tool does have a ton of out-of-the-box things that, you tweak it here, tweak it there, and off you go. And it's usable. Maybe it's not perfect, but it meets that MVP, the minimum viable product, and then you're able to build on it from there.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. And in terms of that journey that you've been going through, like, do you feel like you've had any like strong mentors, or do you feel that guidance you've had in your sort of career has led you to being where you are today?
Absolutely. There's been tons of people that have helped me along the way. And I've had several great mentors. So I've been very fortunate to have that. It has helped me a lot. And now I'm trying to give back as well. And I still lean on them in some cases. So the first one would be Hani Abdulhamid. And he runs Customizo, which is a ServiceNow partner. He was the first architect to see me in that first project that I did as a BA. So I came in and, he never saw me as a business analyst, and I'm not saying that's bad, but he saw me as that developer. He saw that I did have the skill sets, and that made a big difference because he was also later on the first person to give me an architect role, which helped serve as my foundation for that CMA application. Next up would be Karsten Hemstra. He was another person who believed in me and helped me move from a developer to a consultant role. And he was working at the time, or he ran Wirefire Creative, which was a boutique ServiceNow partner that was later acquired by KPMG Canada. Part of the CMA program has a mentorship piece, and Mukesh Gupta was my CMA program mentor. He helped calm my nerves, and he provided that experienced guidance through the CMA program because it is very, very intense. So you work full time, and then on top of that, you add 20 hours to your week to do group projects, presentations, and learning and attending sessions, and you have to get stuff done on tight timelines. So, for anybody looking at it, just clear every weekend for 6 months, because Friday you get the assignment and it's due Monday morning.
Oh, wow.
So you can do it, but just, again, know what you're getting into and make sure that, your family supports it. I couldn't have done it as well without my family's support and understanding. And, they're like, oh, you look so different 6 months later when they see me.
That's amazing. That's brilliant. Yeah. And you know what, like, talking about all these people that have been mentors, like, if somebody is, trying to get the attention of like their boss or somebody that they're like, hey, notice me, like, I am really good at what I do, like, just from a personality perspective, like what advice would you give, like, just in terms of how you carry yourself off as a person, not just the technical side, but you personality? Yeah, what do you think?
You kind of got to let your inner light shine and showcase me plus ServiceNow, or ServiceNow plus me, depending on the messaging you want. You kind of look towards the community, and there's a lot of titans. I look towards Make Sato and Mark Stanger, Robert Fedoruk, CJ Wesley, the Service Ducks guys, and of course the developer advocates, Chuck, Lauren, Earl, Pranav. If I missed anyone, sorry. But I look towards them to help see who they are as people and how that applies to their ServiceNow approach. So if you're trying to get that attention, then first figure out, what do I want? What kind of attention am I looking at for? What do I want to do with it? How's it going to serve my goal? And then start building your plan from there. A lot of people would like to just jump right in, and sometimes that works. If you really want to be strategic about it and have that, 2, 3, 5-year plan, then that's going to serve you, in my opinion, better, because everything's a little more focused Maybe you only get a meeting once a quarter with this person. You really have to make the most out of it. It's like having that elevator pitch, that 30-second pitch ready and rehearsed, so that if you are in the elevator, you can say, hey, talk to me, and this is who I am and what I'm about. Tell me about yourself too.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose again it's about having confidence as well, isn't it? Just to kind of get yourself out there. It can be quite difficult if you're kind of like introvert, but it's a case of, unless you tell somebody, how good you are in terms of your work. Sometimes people don't know, and
Yes.
you kind of get overlooked. So, yeah, I think it's really important. And, just in terms of like somebody who's starting their career in ServiceNow, are there any like key areas that are hot right now that they should sort of focus in on, when trying to kind of build their career path?
So is this for people that are just trying to break in to ServiceNow?
Yeah, it could be breaking in, or maybe people that have done the next gen, or even somebody's a couple of years in and they're kind of going, I'm just working on ITSM, right? So like, what else is out there? What should I do? Like, what's in your opinion, do you think is kind of good paths for them?
I always recommend building and maintaining a strong foundation. And that means understanding the platform at a base, how it is connected, how some of those core pieces work, and a lot of the things that happen repetitively over time. So if you can understand how the patching program works, maybe you don't execute it, but if you understand every month, there's patches and this is what the impacts are. That's going to help maybe shape how you build, how upgrades work, and how all of that piece happens. Cloning is something that's often overlooked, and that's a large part of the dev cycle. We're currently going through a journey with a client where now we're updating the clone settings so that we're not populating sensitive data down into lower instances and having a data sensitivity risk. Those types of things are largely missed, I see, in a lot of places. A lot of people that I work with have all of that locked down, and then in addition to just learning it and getting to there, then I invest a lot in maintaining it. So that I look for those, and then the platform is so wide. I'm a foundational guy, so I really like the CMDB. I like CSDM. And building that starting journey. I know ServiceNow is not just an ITSM platform, but that is the largest product that is used. So that's where I gravitate towards. But I've got friends that love, secure incident response, and they love GRC, the governance and risk and stuff, and HRSD. Those are fun and interesting projects as well. Maybe they don't require some of the CMDB foundational stuff, like HRSD kind of doesn't, but it still requires foundational data. Yeah. So understanding those pieces of the platform, the basics of software delivery, so understanding waterfall and agile and the hybrid model so that you can fit in, will also help you stand out, because there's a lot of competition with next gen and a lot of new people coming into the industry. So those are areas that I feel that would help you stand out.
Yeah, that's amazing. And obviously being CMA qualified, in terms of ServiceNow certifications, and I know you've got a bucket load in your back pocket. So how important do you think they are? Like, just in terms of people who are starting out their careers, what's your sort of views on that?
I think they are important, and I think that they do add a lot more value than what it takes to obtain them, for a few reasons. One, they really give you that language setting. So if somebody's certified in a specific area, then if I talk with them and we're both certified, we're kind of closer to speaking the same language. And this happens a ton with me where I'm not certified and I go, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know this tool. I don't know this product. So I'm never hesitant to say, I don't know, I got to look it up. Or even, I don't know, and I might not be the right person for this one type of an engagement. So the certifications will give you that common language and that common understanding, but that's not enough anymore. 3 or 4 years ago, if you knew the N was capitalized in ServiceNow, you could get a job. But those days are gone. Now it's certification plus experience. That doesn't mean I need to get hired to generate that experience though. But I need to should be able to showcase I have this certification, and here's how I've demonstrated I can execute using that certification, even in a PDI, your personal developer instance. That's what's going to help you stand out again. If I have to pick between a certification and experience though, and I can only have one, I'll be honest, then I would go with experience.
Okay.
But again, the competition is so high that really those that stand out are the ones that have both and can clearly communicate both. What desired outcomes did I have? What challenges did I face? How did I achieve them? And then how did I measure my success? Those 4 key points are very important to be able to convey.
No, that's incredible. So yeah, no, fantastic. And in terms of the ServiceNow platform, I mean, obviously, you and I, we were both at Knowledge this year, and just seeing how it's evolving, the new features that come out, and the updates. How can everybody stay up to date? With what's happening, and just make sure that their skills stay relevant and in demand.
Well, your certifications do have those Delta exams, but they're about 10 questions per exam, and it's an open book, which is nice to make sure that you kind of understand where the product is heading and so on. Specificity is really the only way I see it working for myself. I know a few people that are the jack of all trades or the Jill of all trades or whatever your name is, and they're great at that, but when a difficult or an issue, a very challenging, complex issue comes in, they have to hand it off. And again, there's nothing wrong with that piece. I hand off a lot of the general stuff and things I just don't know or I'm not familiar with. So I focus on the specialization in specific parts of the tool. So, GRC, I don't know. I'm a lot of the products I have zero experience and zero exposure to. Sometimes I've got a little exposure because I interact with it through the CMDB and CSDM stuff, but that's really about it. So I'd say focus on specific areas. The platform is so wide now that, any industry and any type of business process or sector is probably covered under the platform. So if you're interested in legal service delivery, go focus on that. If you're interested in HRSD and you kind of don't want to do some coding, not saying that HRSD doesn't have it, but that's a very configurable product versus, going in and building a custom integration, which may require a ton of coding.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also, if you do kind of, develop a niche that you're very, very strong at and very good at, you're always going to be in demand. You're always going to be reaching the top of those kind of salary wages, when it comes to that thing. And, with remote working as well these days, it really opens up a lot of opportunities. So, yeah, I think that's kind of great advice there. So, you know what, Chris, I want to say something to you. You come across really, really confident. Like, obviously, I was lucky enough, to watch one of your magic shows. I was really honoured to be invited, So I was really lucky to watch it. And honestly, watching you up there doing all these tricks, it was like mind blowing. It's like, wow,
Thank you.
So, I think a lot of people have, moments of doubt, or they feel like imposter syndrome, like, oh my God, should I even be here? Am I allowed, a seat at this table? Yep. What are your top tips on how you can overcome those kind of feelings and go, well, actually, I do deserve a seat at this table? And, what are your sort of top tips, being someone who's been on stage in front of lots of people?
First off, I was honored to host you and Dan. So thank you for spending time with me in Knowledge. I know that is a huge thing to do, especially 2 hours, because there's
amazing.
Only so much knowledge out. So I appreciate that, and it was lovely to host everybody else as well. The first thing that I always try to tell people is that I have imposter syndrome every day.
Yeah.
So acknowledge, even just waking up a little earlier today, and I'm going to make sure I run through all my checklists just to be on this. I'm like, I don't know. Like, how did this happen? How did I get here? So try to acknowledge that feeling. And then what I had to do is when I was getting ready, was remind myself that, I've worked hard. I have gone through all of these pieces. I built a relationship with you. And then, started to say, hey, like, what would you think? And then I was open to you saying no. That was a big thing that I always struggled with was, even earlier in the magic career things, I would offer to do free shows at charity events and they would say no. And I'd be like, what? But that's okay. It took a while for me to get over that, but I realized that it was more, maybe they just don't like it, and that's fine. There's certain pieces of sectors of art that just don't interest me. That's okay. So the imposter syndrome thing happens to me. It happens to everybody else. So you're not alone if you're feeling it. And then if we can go all the way back to when I started in magic, I learned 6 tricks, and then I would go out and practice and rehearse them and perform them for as many people as I could. And there was a large mall about 10 minutes from where I lived at the time. And I would go there to the food court or walk around the mall, and I would try to just work the nerve up to walk up to a stranger and say, would you like to see a magic trick? And sometimes, even at that earlier stage, I was shaking so bad from the nerves that I would start walking up and I would chicken out and I wouldn't even ask them. Other times I would walk up, be shaking, ask them. They would say no. And I had to let that go, move on to the next. Sometimes they would be shaking so bad that I would come up and they would say yes. Like, hey, I want to see this guy try it, right? And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but I kept at it. So my fear of asking had to be less than my fear of not doing it.
Yeah.
So try to find some sort of motivation that's greater than your fear and just keep at it. And, I'm all about the open discussions on stuff like this. So, I know a lot of people sit and say, I don't want to talk about it. I feel like I'm not good enough every day. I make mistakes every day. I try to learn and grow from them as best I can and just constantly trying to be better.
Yeah, but I really love that, the fact that you were not afraid to hear the answer no, because I think that's a really good way of looking at it. It's like, well, I'm going to go in there, and even if they say no, it's fine. Like, I'm mentally prepared for that. So
I don't know if I was I was devastated. But let's go back to that honesty part. Every single no crushed my soul because it's like you're stepping on my dream, stranger. Yeah. But I had to keep going, and that was, I needed to just have something that I wanted to keep pushing. Yeah, the don't give up piece, right? I said, when I offered to do free shows and they said no, I was hurt. But
it's like a dagger in the heart.
It was, because it's like, how could you say no to free entertainment? Like, you have nothing. And I would watch and read the ones that said no, like the press releases or the review or whatever. And I'm like, you didn't even have entertainment. So I had to let go of that as well and be like constantly focused on moving forward and towards the goal and aligned to my plan. That was a tough thing to start doing though.
Yeah, no. Do you know what? I know how you feel. I know definitely when you said about the imposter syndrome, like, because obviously me and Dan were at Knowledge this year, and I think we were the only recruiters there. I didn't sort of see anybody else at all. So, and then there were times where I thought, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm trespassing. Like, should I really be here? It's like, but honestly, everyone in the community is just incredible and so welcoming, and me and Dan learned so much as well, and that helps us do our jobs better. So it's a case of just do it, don't worry about it, so
try to not worry. I know a couple other recruiters that were there, but you guys, everybody was welcome. And that's one of the things I love about this community. Some IT communities are very gatekeepery.
Yeah.
And this is not that one. This is open, helping, and really trying to, when the water rises, all the boats go up.
Yeah,
that's how it is. And don't ever, I hope you don't feel next year that you're...
No, not
okay,
at all.
good.
No,
Yeah,
not
good,
at all.
good,
So
yeah.
we felt very, very welcome, which is
nice.
amazing. So
You can do
yeah.
the strut then down that long hallway.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
like I own this. I own the Venetian now.
Oh, I know, right? So you know what? I mean, reflecting on your sort of own career journey, what advice would you give to sort of young people that are aspiring to join the ServiceNow world? I want to reach a similar path like yourself.
Like we've talked about, have that plan. Make sure that it's attainable in those stages. That if you look at this kind of like climbing a mountain, I look up at the top of Everest, but then my main thing that I'm looking at is the first base camp and then my next steps. So I'm looking down at my feet, moving forward so that I don't trip on the next step. My next goal is that base camp that I can make in one day, and then I'm going to rest, recuperate, replan, refine it, and then take the next journey on the next day. So have that piece. Make sure that you go through the fundamentals and build those skill sets. So, software development, being able to understand the agile, waterfall, the hybrid models, because everybody uses their own little flavor of it. So if you have that framework and that understanding, then you can say, okay, I see how you're doing it. And then you adapt. Be flexible, be patient with yourself. This is complex stuff. It's going to take you a while. You're going to be swearing at the computer like I have been at 2 a.m. trying to get this thing done for that 9 a.m. meeting. That's going to happen. Be ready for those situations and just keep at it. Just keep at it.
Oh, that's incredible. That's really incredible. And, I suppose what I want to ask finally is look, if you could go back in a time machine and talk to your 21-year-old self, what advice would you give him?
Oh, well, I mean, if it could be anything, then, obviously buy Bitcoin and start mining it the first day I heard about it. But all jokes aside, then, one of the pieces of my magic journey was I got to go to Las Vegas and study under some of the greats, Jeff McBride and Eugene Berger, who has since passed away. And part of that week-long course in Vegas, we got to go to see my favorite stage magician, Lance Burton. And part of the program had us go backstage after the show, meet, and, have a real conversation with him. And, I kind of asked him a very similar question, and he answered it in a way that has stuck with me and changed my life. And he said, I always could have been kinder. It never cost me anything to be kind. And every single time I look back on anything, I always could have been kinder. So that is honestly what I would have gone back and said, and really come up with some examples of times in my life when I wasn't good to people, and how do I make that right? How do I improve upon that and at least make sure that maybe the relationship doesn't move forward, but maybe there's minimal pain moving forward for that type of thing, and even just kinder in day-to-day life as well. So it's not always those big milestones or those big events that happen, but how can I be kinder today?
Oh, you know what? That's incredible. Well, I want to say one thing to you, Chris. You are the most incredibly kind person that I've ever met. And honestly, when you hosted us, it was incredible. And the amount that you do for the community is just brilliant. The amount you give back. So I think you are fulfilling that.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And thank you.
No, that's incredible. Well, look, I just want to say a huge thank you for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your advice. Being CMA, being a magician, being in the ServiceNow ecosystem, and I would say being pretty famous as well.
Oh no, absolutely. Chuck's fame, Chuck, Lauren, Earl, they're the fame. Bill McDermott, those are the ones.
No, I think you're in there too.
Well, I did have one person this year request a selfie. So
that was amazing.
They messaged on LinkedIn. I was like, "Oh, that's very kind. So thank you for that." But I just try to be as kind as I can, and remember that I couldn't have got here alone myself.
Yeah.
And I want to help others as well. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. So
And I love your podcast. So thank you for having me. You know, everybody should watch Linking Humans. Go all the way back to episode 1. You know, binge watch it. You know.
Yeah.
Cancel Netflix and then binge watch this.
Oh, that's amazing. So thank you so much. Look, honestly, a huge thank you to you. And I'll definitely see you next year at Knowledge.
Yes.
And if you're ever in the UK or wherever in Canada, we'll hook up.
Of course, definitely.
That'd
Yeah, I'd love that.
Amazing. Perfect. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.